turn your oven on. We want it on a gas mark 6 or a 200 degrees. So turn it on at the wall, press the button in the middle of the display, turn the dial round onto 6, leave it to heat up. We also need a baking tray with a piece of non-stick or baking paper on there ready to go. Okay, so we've got the fish, we've got the cornflakes, which we're going to add some things to. We've got our egg and we've got our flour. So the first job is to crush the cornflakes. This is 45 grams and we're just going to crush these until they're all broken up into a fine powder.
Go.
Okay, so we finished crushing our cornflakes, so they're fine in the bowl. You could alternatively use some breadcrumbs or anything else that would be crunchy on the outside. Next thing that we want to do is to put a little bit of our lemon zest in there. And the best way of doing that is either with a particular side of a grater, but also we can use one of these zesters. We only want about half the lemon, and we're going to rinse it under the tap before we use it, just to wash any pesticides off. So get your thumb onto the lemon, hand around the zester, press your thumb into the lemon and then press down until you get some of this zest coming off. And we literally want to take just a really thin 1 millimeter layer off of the yellow part. We don't want to zest off any of the white pith which is underneath, because that's quite bitter and not very nice. So we want about half a lemon in there. It's just going to give it a little bit of a zesty taste on our coating. And then we're going to add a few herbs. I would always suggest just popping them into your hand before they go into the bowl. If you pour it straight in, you can put a bit too much. And we just want about a teaspoon. Okay, so that is the coating ready to go. I've also got 2 tablespoons of flour, which I've just measured out onto a plate. So that is going to go on first, then we're going to have the egg, then we've got the cornflakes. So the next job is to crack my egg and beat it. So I'm going to take the end of my fork, I'm just going to crack it into the egg so it gets cracked, get my 2 fingers into the crack, and then open it up. Once it's in the jug, I'm going to beat it with my fork so that the yolk and the white are mixed together. Okay, and that is ready for the next step. Over here on my red chopping board then is where I'm going to prepare my fish. And you can do exactly the same with some chicken mini fillets or something like that, or chicken breast that you cut up into your own shape. Now, you'll notice I'm using a red chopping board. In a proper kitchen, in a catering establishment, you would actually use a blue chopping board for raw fish and a red chopping board for raw meat. But we haven't got all the different sizes of boards here. It would just be impossible to have them all. So we're going to use the red board. I'm going to put the packaging straight into the bin. And then I'm going to take my knife and I want to cut these into fingers, so even sized fingers. Now it sort of seems logical to cut them down the middle here. We don't want to cut them too small because then they cook really quickly and they dry out. It's quite nice to keep them fairly chunky, keep them as equal sized as possible, and then we will start with the coating process. Okay, and the next part of the process is to take each of the fish goujons and we're going to dip it in the flour, just an even coating, tap off any excess, dip it into the egg next, and that's going to stick onto the flour and make a glue, which is going to make it nice and sticky then to coat with our cornflakes and lemon zest and onto the tray. And repeat the process with the rest of the goujons. Okay, so I've coated all of the goujons now. If you've made fish goujons, we're going to cook them for 10 minutes. If you've made chicken goujons, we're going to cook them for a bit longer, about 20 minutes, until the chicken is no longer pink on the inside and white all the way through, or with the fish is firm all the way through. So meanwhile, whilst the goujons are cooking, we're going to wash up. We need to bear in mind that the fish or the raw meat has been on the red chopping board, so we need to give it a really thorough clean. And you can see I've scraped out all of the excess flour and cornflakes into the bin so it doesn't get into my washing up water. Okay, so the goujons have been in the oven for 10 minutes. These are the fish goujons. And the way that I can tell that they're cooked is by looking at them. I can see that they are golden brown. And if I touch the largest one and give it a little press, I can feel that it's quite firm. The fish firms up as it cooks, so I can feel that it feels firm, and that gives me a clue that it's cooked. What you could do is break one open and check, and especially with the chicken goujon, we need to make sure that the chicken's cooked all the way through because of the risk of salmonella and campylobacter. So we might want to sacrifice the largest goujon, because that'll take the longest to cook, cut it in half, and make sure there's no pink meat on the inside. That's how you make fish goujons.